Hey everybody, Matt with Freestand here. Got a special guest on the show today, Haley Hughes, who started RDRx Nutrition. She's I think for the most part, a virtual nutritionist. So she coaches people on their diet and nutrition and kind of living a healthy lifestyle in general. So thank you for coming on. You're our first it says your internet connection is unstable. Okay, no, we're good. We're good. So thank you for coming on. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. I'm excited to talk to you because you're the first nutritionist that we've had on. So anyway, let's just dive right into it. How did you get started with, kind of doing what you're doing, and kind of what was your path to where you are now? And then also, what do you do?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it condensed. But to
Sure.
become a registered dietitian, it typically is a 4-year bachelor degree. I went on to get my master's degree and then did a 2-year internship that was supervised, and yeah, that took a good 6 years of my life. And then
That's a
I had
lot.
taken, yeah, it's a little bit more than people think, and that's sometimes the difference between what a dietitian is and a nutritionist is. And I won't go too far into that, but there is not necessarily a body that how do I explain that? Nutritionist, anyone can call themselves a nutritionist. There isn't really a governing body that regulates that. So anyways, back to what my path was. I took an exam, and then I also took the time to get a couple other credentials in diabetes counseling and then also intuitive eating. So yeah.
Very cool. So that was a lot. So you actually went to school for this. Like you got a 4-year degree to become a dietitian. And a nutritionist is anybody can call themselves a nutritionist, or you could take like an online course and call yourself a nutritionist, kind of. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay.
That doesn't mean all nutritionists don't have an education by any means. The term registered dietitian is just a little bit different. So I'm pretty passionate about letting people know.
Cool. Good. You should be. And so in terms of, so you said you specialize in diabetes counseling. Is that right?
Yeah, so I spent a couple years in the inpatient setting working at a hospital, and then I moved into more of outpatient counseling. And a lot of the patients I was being sent were managing weight or diabetes. So I was kind of pushed into a direction to get a little bit more education in that area just so I could better support them. With my private practice now, I do a little bit more of intuitive eating practices and just overall healthy nutrition education versus just diabetes. So,
Got it.
yeah.
And what got you interested in this in the first place, like prior to college? Were you just like super into fitness and like staying healthy? And then you were like, I want to try and give what I've had to other people, kind of?
Yeah, kind of. I've always grown up in healthcare. My mom's a nurse. I wanted to do something in the medical field and realized I was not cut out for anything with blood and guts. So I decided to shadow a pharmacist for a little while and realized a lot of those problems, either could be fixed with preventative health or just diet and exercise. When I learned there were dietitians in the hospital, I was like, wow, this is like the perfect job for me. And other than that, I mean, it's all history from there.
Got it. And so in terms of the private practice piece of it, um, talk to me a little bit about that. So how does that work? If I wanted to get a consultation, I would, contact you and, obviously meet with you. And then also if you could explain a little bit about how that works, and also like the dynamic between doing online counseling and then in person, if you do any. So
Yeah, I transitioned out of the hospital setting. I do still work there 1 day a week, but I wasn't as happy doing nutrition counseling in the inpatient setting. People are usually sick, worried about their bills, or not in a place to receive education and build, that connection and relationship. So once I got into the outpatient setting, I really enjoyed working with patients that way, but still with healthcare. I mean, I wasn't able to follow up with them as frequently as I would have liked to. I didn't want to just give them an hour of education and say, see ya. So I opened my own practice. Um, and I did have an office for a couple years. And then when COVID happened, I decided to transition all to virtual, which actually has been amazing. I mean, people are working from their home anyways. It's easier for everyone's schedule. There's so many amazing platforms where I can actually connect with my patients daily. I have my own app where they're able to food journal, and all their scheduling is in there. It's just a really nice, it was a great transition. So to me, parts of COVID actually opened up really great opportunities and made my life and my clients' lives a little bit easier as far as staying in communication.
That's awesome. And so were you doing any virtual work prior to the pandemic, or was it completely in person?
Yeah, I was doing a little bit of virtual. It was more with people who are just at a distance, or maybe just their check-ins, which are, I usually do an hour appointment to start with, and then I do 20-minute check-ins every week. And some people just preferred to do those virtual so they didn't have to drive in. So I was doing a little bit, but it was kind of a big jump into all virtual.
And when the pandemic hit, so obviously if you were doing just local people, it was people, and by the way, I don't think I mentioned, but Haley is in Anchorage, Alaska, which is super cool. And so it was mostly people that were in Anchorage. And did you have anybody that was outside of Anchorage, or was it people that were in Anchorage that just didn't want to come in to, in person sometimes?
That's a good question. I actually started my business when I lived in Colorado. I'm from Alaska, and moved a couple years ago back home. But I've had people in Africa. I've had people in also New York. I've had people all across the U.S. So um, I would say my main clientele is usually where I'm living because I'm located that way through like Google Maps and things like that.
Yeah.
But definitely had people all over the place, whether they moved or travel or just found me randomly and or word of mouth.
So
Yeah.
when they find you randomly, somebody from Africa, that seems cool. Um, do they find you, like, how do they find you? I guess, how do you market yourself? Is it mainly through
Yeah,
Instagram? What is it? Yeah.
try not to market. Well, I mean, I don't really market. I've never had to. I've lived in either a place that didn't have a lot of registered dietitian support, or there's just a need for it. I mean, I do put time and effort into my social media, but I try to make that more of a resource for clients or just for the general population, not necessarily to sell what I do. I don't know if that's, I mean, it's probably poor business, but
Well, no,
I
it's
would
not. It just is what it
um,
is. If you're in a place where there's people that, you're the only dietitian, you kind of have what you need, right?
yeah, I haven't ever had necessarily a shortage of clients, so I'm just kind of doing what I'm doing, and people have been so wonderful about leaving reviews or telling their friends and things like that. So really, my clients do the marketing.
Yeah, that's the best thing is just word of mouth, honestly. It's if somebody, because, it's one thing when you just see somebody on the internet, but if one of your friends gives you a recommendation, you're going to really listen. Um, and then, so you said that you have, there's multiple online platforms that allow you to access people. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
quite a few options for dietitians to, it's really important to keep obviously your patients and clients information private. So there's been some people that have created apps or portals for clients to use, and mine personally has a food journal for them. It has a way to communicate with me 24/7, and it can be accessed on their phone or through a computer. So
And what's the name of that? Just curious.
yeah, mine is called Practice Better. Um,
Practice
it's a little
better.
green when you download it on the App Store.
And is that specifically for dietitians and nutritionists, or is that for doctors as well,
I
therapists?
think therapists can definitely utilize it. I think it's more geared towards dietitians and nutritionists
Okay.
with the food feature. I don't know what other practitioners would use that.
And if you communicate with one of your clients, or patients rather, I don't know how you classify them. Can you use Zoom, or do you have to use some other type of platform that's HIPAA compliant, that protects their information?
Yeah, I really prefer to use HIPAA compliant platforms. I think Skype now has one. I'm not sure if Zoom does.
I
If
think
for
they
some
do.
reason connection is bad, uh, if patients are okay with it, I'll let them know. Like, we can use Zoom or FaceTime, but it's not HIPAA compliant. So
Got
usually
it.
they're okay.
Yeah, I was speaking to somebody recently who's a therapist, and I think he mentioned that Zoom recently came out with a HIPAA compliant feature. Um, so, um, and in terms of how much you charge, how do the rates work? If somebody wants to work with you, how much does it cost?
Yeah, I post everything on my website. I do require all of my clients prior to signing up that we have a conversation. I get to know them, they get to know my style to make sure that I'm a good fit. I mean, if they just sign up and we're not on the same page, it's not a good situation. So
Yeah.
I try to be very transparent about my prices. It just kind of depends what they're looking for. Most of my clients are monthly clients, and that can range anywhere from 200 to 365 a month. And if they're just wanting to do single visits, that's also listed on my website too. So always
Got it.
lots of options.
And the monthly, most people are monthly. How many times a month do they come in? Is it once a week, or is it twice a month?
So I generally start with that 1 hour initial appointment, and then we schedule weekly check-ins to review the week as a whole, go through goals, reset intentions, and just staying in touch.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think it's definitely really important just to constantly touch base, because with something like dieting, I mean, any lifestyle change, it's like this. Yeah, if it's just, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard, right? Um, but I actually read this book. I don't know if you've read it. It's called Atomic Habits.
Yeah,
That's a great
I have
book.
a lot of reference that. I haven't completed the whole book. I think I did the Spark Notes version and listened to it on audiobook. But yeah, I get that referenced all the time, and it's really helpful. And it is true. Most of our day is made up of habits. So
Yeah, just little ones. And like with something with like dieting, it's just like if you can pick something that like or not just with dieting, but with anything, it's like pretty much pick something that's going to make you that you kind of get rewarded, and like you can kind of feel like happy, because people, I guess, try to pick immediate reward over long-term reward, and it's like try and make those immediate rewards, or like what would usually be a long-term reward, an immediate reward, kind of, you know what I mean? So like if you eat a piece of broccoli, you get something else. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's not you don't get cake, but I don't know, you got to do something fun. Um, and it kind of like tricks your mind into some type of positive feedback loop reward system. I don't know.
and really
Um,
look at it. Sometimes I look at, okay, if the habit you want to change is preparing some meals to have on hand, well, what's the reward? Well, I'm less stressed during the week. I know what
right.
I'm eating. It's not a drive-through fast food, and I feel better afterwards. So yeah, I like that perspective.
So that's I think the next thing that we should hop into then is kind of like, what is your take on dieting and nutrition in general, and like kind of like your approach and how you approach the space, I
Yeah,
guess.
it took me a little while to find exactly what was authentic to me. I mean, I've had a lot of schooling. I know how to manage chronic disease with nutrition, but I did not realize the impacts of diet culture or traumas that people have had from dieting or just food in general. So that's what led me to my last credential of intuitive eating counseling. I found that really, really helpful and valuable for my clients. And a lot of people, when they hear intuitive eating, they're like, oh, so just eat whatever you want. I mean, it's a little bit more in depth than that. If you ate pizza and donuts every day, you probably wouldn't feel good, and that's not very intuitive. So
Yeah.
I still tie in nutrition science and trying to create balanced meals, of course, but a little bit more gentle or soft approach to nutrition versus following exact numbers or creating nutrition into something it doesn't necessarily need to be. So I don't know if that answers your question,
So
but
what is intuitive nutrition? really? Is that just like do what you want?
It's in a little bit more of your body and mind. And there's 10 principles written by two other dietitians who have wonderful research behind what
Mhm.
they're doing. But I mean, simple things like honoring hunger and fullness. A lot of us don't do that. That's a way to connect with your body. Um, Honoring, when you want to have something that maybe isn't the healthiest, but, identifying how did that make you feel? And maybe it is just an emotional, craving or whatever. And
Right.
it doesn't need to be this good or bad situation where it's now food is taking morals. I don't know. It's
Yeah. Well, no,
pretty.
it that makes sense. Because like when you follow like a strict diet, it's like even though I'm hungry, I'm not going to eat this right now, but your body's like I'm hungry, and then you make yourself sad because you're not eating when you're hungry, and then you're like I can't do this, I'm going to give up on it, right?
Or you overeat later and it's horrible. So I mean, that's exactly it. When I have clients say, "Well, I ate 2 hours ago. I shouldn't be hungry." I'm like, "Well, do you pee? Or when you have to go pee, do you go pee?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, being hungry is a physical cue, and maybe it's okay. Maybe that meal I ate earlier wasn't as balanced as I needed it to be to last me a little bit longer. Let's look at that.
Right.
Or yeah, I am just a little extra hungry because I have a lot of stress going on, or I exercised more, or whatever. It's just looking at it from all
Yeah.
perspectives. So
Yeah. And just kind of find the balance there too. And like when you are hungry, maybe you don't go eat the donut, but you do fill yourself up and you don't starve yourself. Right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not trying to be a dietitian here. I'm just spitballing. But anyway, it's very interesting because like I feel like I'm happy I got to talk to you, um, because you went to school for this. I feel like in this space there's a lot of noise, like maybe the most noise out of any space in the world, like nutrition and fitness, right? Like it's just like everybody has different opinions, and it's like the one thing probably that people care about the most is like nutrition, health, and for some people money. It's like that is like I don't know. That's like those are like the three pillars of life, I feel like, for some people, and obviously happiness. Um and Yeah, there's just a lot of there's a lot of noise, it's like everywhere on the internet there's a different opinion about this. Should you be doing keto? Should you not? You know.
With
So,
intuitive eating, it's what is best for you. Like maybe keto works for your neighbor down the street and they've lost some weight. Okay, but does eating high fat meals make you feel good? I mean, I don't have that answer. Let's look at it. Let's see.
yeah.
So it's me guiding people to be more in touch with themselves and learn the nutrition piece as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm also a CrossFit coach, so it's funny that you say that. But there's noise everywhere, and everybody has their nice. I love it. But yeah, same thing. It's like I was immersed in macros and counting every little detail, and I didn't want to live my life that way. I don't believe food has to be that way to be a good athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, I have testimony to that. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you do CrossFit competitions and stuff?
I've done one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'll do another one, but good experience. But yeah,
They're hard. I've never done one. I don't really do CrossFit either. My brother owns a CrossFit gym. So I always wear his apparel. So he's very into it, of course.
yeah,
Um, but yeah. Anyway, alrighty. I think we covered it all, honestly, Haley. This was really interesting. All right, somebody's listening, and if you could give your quick advice about nutrition and health and following cues in your bar or whatever, I think that would be cool.
yeah. I would say do more of what feels good and what you enjoy because life is too short to be obsessed over every little ounce of chicken or creating restrictions and missing out on really yummy food and social things and good things in life.
Yeah. Eat cheeseburgers and fried chicken. That's what that meant. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All righty. Well, Haley, thank you. This was really cool. This will go up in a couple days. Websites, or do you have a website, Instagram? If you could shout that out.
Yeah, my website is rdrxnutrition.com. I've got a ton of social media platforms. I spend a lot of time recipe blogging, so if you're interested in that, you can find me at RDRx Nutrition on Pinterest or Instagram or Facebook, and lots of
So,
good resources.
so it's RDRx Nutrition on Instagram, Pinterest, and then rdrxnutrition.com.
Yep.
Beautiful. Easy. Very cool. All right, Haley, thank you. And to everybody listening, see you later. RDRx Nutrition.
Yep.
Peace.